So it's all a way that her people out there, in my opinion, conspiracy theory, whatever, we're all just trying to make, lemonade out of lemons. Oh yeah, she lost this gig, but what can we put out there to distract and make her still seem valuable? Oh, well, she's with Dior. So this was all over the place. Article.
Hey everybody, I'm Beebs Kelly. Welcome back to another video. Today, we are going to be discussing the entire Dior drama situation as it pertains to the Sussexes. I understand that fully. Meg seems to be attempting a modern minimalist aesthetic that combines a classic chic with a casual elegance because she does attempt, just not very successfully.
Meghan tried to turn Dior into her storyline. Dior. They quietly turned her into a lesson she would never forget.
They say contract talks with Meghan Markle aren't happening. Numerous publications, Daily Mail, TMZ, New York Post, all reported a deal could be imminent. Fake news! Fake news!
Paris gleamed that morning, the sunlight bouncing off cobblestones and golden rooftops like the city itself was alive with secrets. Dior headquarters on Avenue Montini looked like a palace carved from marble and glass, every corner whispering wealth, power, and exclusivity. Inside, stylists moved with clockwork precision.
And sort of mixing the sort of high-low is the attempt that she's going for, but she doesn't bring in enough of that, look. Catherine, the Princess of Wales, tends to be really successful at high-low dressing, which I can't say that phrase without thinking of Ina Garten, who talks about high-low cuisine.
Models floated from fitting to fitting, and the guest list read like the ultimate fashion Bible. You either belonged or you didn't. Every detail mattered, and nothing could be forced. The lobby air had thickened, charged, and heavy like a storm waiting to explode. Meghan's confident, self-assured smile had disappeared. What started as a bold entrance had instantly turned into a clash of entitlement versus elegance. She stood there, quiet tension radiating from her eyes, the kind that says, "I'm used to being obeyed. Don't question me." The staff stayed composed. They had seen celebrities, billionaires, and politicians walk through these doors, but this was something different, sharper, unpredictable, unruly in a way they had rarely witnessed before. No record existed of her visit. No fitting was logged. No approval had been granted. Only a name, one that carried more headlines than true prestige. But in Dior's world, fame doesn't open doors. Behind counters, assistants typed frantically, checking schedules that didn't exist. Upstairs, messages pinged between departments as confusion spread like wildfire. Word flew fast. Meghan Markle had appeared uninvited, claiming a private fitting. When Dior's head of communications finally appeared, the tension thickened like fog. Every movement was deliberate, every smile measured, every gesture radiated authority. She didn't raise her voice. Her presence alone made everyone pause. Meghan stiffened. Her team fidgeted, unsure what to do next. This wasn't the grand entrance they had imagined. It was a public reminder. Status means nothing when power isn't earned. She had tried to push the door open, but Dior quietly reminded her that not all doors swing under pressure. The footage later told the story better than words ever could. Meghan stood there, arms crossed tight, her expression carved in stone. The staff moved around her like dancers in a tense ballet, each aware they were in the eye of a storm. The communications director maintained composure, calmly stating, "No record, no approval, no invitation." Meghan didn't flinch. Her silence cut deeper than her stare. In Dior's world, this scene was rare. The house didn't argue. It decided, and it never bent to uninvited celebrities. Dior's legacy, built on women who became icons without demanding it. Grace Kelly, Princess Diana, Jennifer Lawrence. They never announced their worth. They simply were. The entire encounter lasted less than 10 minutes, but spoke volumes. Meghan's name was quietly logged into Dior's system, tagged with a single verdict. No future engagement, no collaboration, no event access. Just a silent lock on every possible door. The staff didn't gossip, didn't roll their eyes. They simply carried on because in Dior's world, dignity is the deadliest response. But here's the twist. No one in that lobby knew. Meghan hadn't stumbled into this by accident. This was part of a bigger plan, meticulously orchestrated over months, a chess game behind the scenes no one could see, perfectly timed and executed. What seemed like awkward chaos was actually the climax of a year-long pursuit. Meghan's team had been chasing Dior relentlessly, sending proposal after proposal, trying to secure a brand partnership that could cement her status among fashion's elite. It wasn't about clothes, it was about legitimacy. Dior was the crown jewel she wanted for her comeback. Her team's pitch revolved around the idea of modern royalty. They painted her as the new face of grace, power, and feminine resilience. It sounded poetic, but to Dior's board, it reeked of calculation. 6 follow-up emails arrived, each more desperate than the last. The final message even compared Meghan's influence to Princess Diana's. That's when the door truly slammed shut inside Dior. Diana isn't a marketing tool. She's fashion mythology. Even hinting at her name in a pitch was a misstep far too bold to ignore. Executives quietly decided that Meghan's image brought risk, not resonance. The drama, the headlines, the noise. It wasn't Dior's language, and it never would be. So when Meghan arrived in Paris that morning, Dior didn't see inspiration. They saw someone attempting to script an alliance that didn't exist. Draped in old Dior, a film crew trailing behind, she radiated self-importance that didn't match her actual standing, and every movement was calculated for the cameras. And this is where things tipped from awkward to outright bizarre. Meghan hadn't come alone. 2 assistants, a stylist, and a man hauling a full camera rig followed her closely. It wasn't subtle. The setup screamed production, not privacy. To Dior staff, it looked less like a fitting and more like a staged performance that ignored every rule of the house. Luxury houses live by one rule carved in stone: no cameras without clearance. Not even world-famous ambassadors film without permission. Yet here was Meghan, rolling up with her own lens as if Dior's headquarters were part of her personal set, an invasion dressed as glamour. Staff whispered as she passed. Some claimed this wasn't her first attempt to drop by. The pattern was becoming clear. Show up, record a few moments, and create the illusion of access, projecting control that wasn't hers to wield. The reality, however, was colder. Dior had no idea she was coming. The footage wasn't for fashion, it was for content, part of a documentary project her camp had quietly been piecing together over weeks. Her arrival, her tension, even her exit, all looked designed for the camera. The only thing that went wrong, Dior's refusal to play along. Inside that building, the message spread fast. Phones buzzed, glances exchanged, and staff whispered in astonishment, realizing the audacity of the attempt. The line between celebrity confidence and uninvited chaos had never looked thinner. Meghan thought she was walking into a Dior fitting, but what she saw was a performance, and she refused to be part of it. The truth finally surfaced, and it was worse than anyone imagined. Meghan's Dior visit wasn't about fashion at all. It was content. Insiders revealed the whole thing was a setup for her upcoming documentary. A glossy self-redemption piece built around the theme of rejection. The segment even had a title. The Doors That Close were supposed to show Meghan as a misunderstood woman, gracefully rising above the coldness of elite institutions. Except there was one problem. The rejection wasn't real. Every detail, from the outdated Dior trench coat to the camera-ready posture, was planned to create the illusion of resilience, what she called facing rejection. Dior saw it as manipulation. In the luxury world, authenticity is sacred. You don't script humility. You don't fake exclusivity. Once fashion houses realized the scene had been staged, admiration quickly turned to disgust, and respect vanished instantly. Dior, a house built on precision, purity, and artistry, realized it had been used as a prop in someone else's storyline. To them, this wasn't clever marketing. It was blasphemy. The brand had survived wars, dictatorships, and scandals, but what it couldn't tolerate was being dragged into a PR performance disguised as empowerment. Meghan wanted symbolism. Dior saw spectacle, and for a house like Dior, being used without consent is the one sin they never forgive. Dior didn't rush to respond. They didn't need to speak. Their silence was a strategy, but behind that silence, something unexpected began to happen. The evidence started leaking. It began with an internal email confirming what the staff already knew. Meghan had shown up unannounced, cameras rolling, demanding entry. That email traveled from inbox to inbox until it slipped into the public domain. Within hours, the fashion world had the receipts, and they were undeniable. Then came the real bomb, the security footage, grainy, unedited, brutally honest. 3 minutes of pure reality. Meghan entering the lobby, gesturing to her team, watching as staff double-checked the non-existent booking. Then, walking out after handing over a printed confirmation. Dior couldn't verify. No music, no glamour, no filters, just tension caught on tape. The clip leaked to French media first, then spread like wildfire. Social media exploded. Half the world defended her as bold and misunderstood. The other half saw a stunt gone catastrophically wrong. Dior never commented, never denied, never clarified. They simply let the footage do the talking. Their silence wasn't weakness, it was dominance. In luxury culture, words are cheap. Power is defined by restraint, and that restraint, it became the most devastating statement of all. The aftermath hit fast and hard. Within days, calls stopped being returned. Netflix, once deeply invested in Meghan's new documentary, suddenly went quiet. No official termination, just the classic Hollywood freeze-out, unanswered emails, cancelled meetings, vanishing enthusiasm. It was the industry's way of saying goodbye without ever saying a word. Luxury brands watching from a distance took note. Dior's decision set the tone. If the most powerful fashion house in the world wouldn't touch her, why would anyone else? Collaborations evaporated. PR firms withdrew interest. Stylists declined to lend wardrobe pieces. Even friendly media outlets, who once leapt to her defense, avoided the story. For someone who had built an empire on visibility, invisibility became the harshest punishment. The public grew weary of the performance. The industry grew tired of the risk. Her name had become what every brand fears most: unpredictable. It wasn't just Dior closing its doors. It was the entire upper circle of fashion and entertainment. Meghan's attempt to stage grace had backfired spectacularly. By the end of that summer, her brand wasn't just struggling, it was radioactive. No one wanted to be the next to get burned. The brilliance of Dior's response. There was no response at all. No defensive statements, no PR maneuvers, no subtle digs. They simply carried on, unaffected, unbothered, polished as ever. That is the real art of luxury, knowing silence cuts deeper than any headline. While Meghan's team scrambled to regain footing, Dior was busy launching new campaigns starring Anya Taylor-Joy. Natalie Portman glided through premieres in fresh couture. Social media kept its perfect rhythm. New collections, new ambassadors, no hint of chaos. Their silence was so immaculate, it became the story itself. Insiders in Paris described it as a masterclass in control. Dior didn't just ignore the scandal, they absorbed it and turned it into proof of untouchable status. By refusing to engage, they reinforced their dominance. The message was unmistakable. Dior doesn't chase clout, it defines it. Every luxury house took notes. The episode became a quiet warning across the industry. Protect your name, protect your legacy, and never allow yourself to be dragged into performative drama. Meghan had tried to turn Dior into her redemption story. Instead, Dior turned her into a cautionary tale, and they didn't have to lift a single finger to do it. The truth was simple. Meghan had tried to stage authenticity, and the world caught on. Her doors closed. That so-called project was meant to show perseverance, but it ended up revealing something else entirely. Entitlement dressed as empowerment, dressed in white, making a total spectacle of herself. Dior's refusal to engage wasn't just silence, it was instruction. A quiet lesson in what true influence looks like. It reminded the entire fashion industry what prestige really means. True power doesn't need to explain itself. It doesn't perform for validation. It simply exists, untouched, unquestioned, and completely impervious to manufactured drama. Meghan had entered Dior's headquarters, hoping for a story of transformation instead. She walked straight into her own narrative collapse. The brand didn't humiliate her publicly. They simply refused to acknowledge her at all, and in the high-gloss world of fashion, that is far worse than outright rejection, sending a shockwave through her team and the media alike. In the end, the loudest sound in this entire saga wasn't Meghan's defense. It was Dior's silence, sharp, deliberate, and devastating. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and drop your thoughts in the comments below.